Hi, I'm Paul Malchow, one of the creators and designers of Union City Alliance, a brand new deck and board building game. And today, I'm going to talk to you about hero cards, the cards that you'll use when you're playing the game in order to deal with city cards, villain cards, and the board to play the game. Each hero starts off with 10 origin cards. These are the most basic cards in the game. For example, Odysseus' Modern Odyssey. As you can see, up in the top right corner, there's the origin symbol and the word origin. That means that this card has no cost. It's automatically part of your deck when you choose to play Odysseus at the start of the game. If you look at the column on the right-hand side of any hero card, that is the printed resources column. Any resources that are printed there, you gain as soon as you play that card. So, when Odysseus plays Modern Odyssey, he automatically gets 1 Valor and 2 Speed. Nothing else happens because there are no further effects on the card. Other origin cards, like Blinding Flash, give you Might instead. As you can see on the right-hand resources bar, Blinding Flash gives you 1 Might. However, there are other things you can do with this origin card. If you look at the main rules box, you'll see that this has an in-hand Gambit with a range of 0. A Gambit can be used whenever damage is dealt to a person within the range, and you have a card in the particular location specified. So, for an in-hand Gambit, this card needs to be in your hand when damage is dealt. The range says that anybody on your panel who's dealt damage can be reacted to using Blinding Flash. When you use a Gambit, you follow its instructions. For example, Blinding Flash says, discard this card to gain 2 defense. So, if Lady Sunbeam or someone on our panel were dealt damage, she could then activate this in-hand Gambit, discard this card, and gain 2 defense instead of keeping it in her hand for her turn, where she would get the 1 Might. There are other kinds of Gambits as well, and more powerful ones. For example, this is a Union card. You can tell from the upper right corner where it says Achieve. It has a blue circle instead of the light green one. It has the Valor icon, and it has a cost. The upper right-hand corner in non-origin cards tells you the cost to put that card in your deck. Whether it's a Union card and you need to exert Valor to get that card, or it's a solo card and you need to exert Heroism to get it. We'll go over that in a minute. Now, this team-up card, Chain Summoning, gives you 2 Might and 2 Speed when you play it. Those are its printed resources. Below that on the printed resources column, you'll see that this card has qualities. Almost all non-origin cards have 1 or 2 qualities. Qualities describe how a card is accomplished. For example, Chain Summoning is both gear and mystic. And the in-hand Gambit with a range of 1 on Chain Summoning deals with a quality. It says, discard this card to gain 4 defense. Then, if you have another mystic card in your hand, deal that enemy 1 damage. When you Gambit with this card, no matter what, you'll gain the 4 defense when you discard it. However, to deal the 1 damage, you need to have another mystic card in your hand. There are still more kinds of Gambits. Both of those cards require you to discard that card itself, but that's not the case for all Gambits. For example, Wrangler's Cowboy Leathers. This is a solo card. You can tell from the green circle in the upper right corner and the heroism symbol. Its cost to train for is 2, and Wrangler gets 3 Valor as soon as he plays this gear card. The in-hand Gambit is only for himself, so only when he is dealt damage can he use this Gambit. And it says discard a Valor card to gain 3 defense. That means that Wrangler could potentially discard this card, as it is a Valor card. However, he could discard another Valor card from his hand, gaining the effects of the Gambit, but keeping Cowboy Leathers in his hand to use subsequently. Some cards with a Gambit don't require any discard at all. For example, Cosmic Gauntlets is a Captain Jupiter origin card. It has 1 printed Might, and its in-hand Gambit self says once per turn, gain 1 defense. Now that's limited within its own description to once per turn. However, it doesn't require any kind of discard. Always check the description of the specific Gambit you're using to make sure you're discarding the right card, or whether you need to discard a card at all. Other Union cards include Dangerous Driving. This is slightly different than the Chain Summoning we saw earlier, in that while it is a Union card, it is specifically a team-up card. You can tell in the bottom right-hand corner the icon of the hero it's associated with, this being the Green Death. Team-up cards, those being Union cards that are specifically aligned with a playable hero, can only be used in games where that hero is not being played. In the printed resources column, instead of might and speed, Dangerous Driving is one of a handful of cards that requires the hero to choose which resource it gains. Those are noted with an or in between the various printed resources. So when you play Dangerous Driving, you need to choose when you play it whether you're gaining X might or 3 speed. X as a variable is something you'll see on some printed resource, and X is always described on that card. For example, with Dangerous Driving, this card's printed might is equal to the speed you gained this turn, maximum 4. Therefore, with Dangerous Driving, you can either gain 3 speed, or you can gain might equal to the amount of speed you gain from other cards this turn. There are other kinds of mechanics that are featured on cards as well. Here's another Union card, Valiant Strike, which costs 4. It's a mystic that has 3 printed might. However, it also has an Empower ability. Empower can only be triggered when it is in your hand during your action phase. The Empower on this says, discard a card to have a hero gain 2 heroism. This can apply to any hero. Note that it doesn't say that you gain it, but rather that any hero does. So, on a turn where you don't have any enemies to fight, empowering this card for heroism is a great way not to have it go to waste. However, if you are in a fight and don't need the heroism, you can simply play this card, not using the Empower, and gain the 3 might. There are lots of cards with these kind of situational or optional bonuses. Activate is similar to Empower, except that you trigger it from in play. Therefore, with a card like Half-Life, a Dr. Tomorrow solo card that costs 4 to train for, and gets you either 2 might or 2 speed, and is a gear card, has an Activate. So, when you play it, you choose to gain 2 might or 2 speed, and then on that turn, while it's still in your play area, you can choose whether to activate it. If you do, you carry out its Activate text. In this case, look at the top card of every hero's deck. You may destroy 1 card revealed this way, and replace or discard the rest. This allows for card destruction. For example, destroying cards that are not as powerful like your origin cards, or cards that are no longer working with the strategy that that hero is using, is a great way to refine and enhance any player's deck. Card destruction is rare on hero cards, so cards like Half-Life, with its Activate, are particularly potent. Another mechanic is Alert, like on this Strike from the Shadows, a 5-cost Odysseus solo card that gives you 2 speed and is a skill card. You'll note that Alert cards in the upper left-hand corner have the Alert exclamation mark. They also have the Alert green box to make sure you don't miss it, because Alert cards can only be triggered when they enter that hero's hand. So, usually that means when a card is drawn. However, if a taken out player passes you that card, or it comes from underneath a villain or a city card, that alert can also be triggered. Nothing happens with the alert when you play the card or on your action phase, unless it is drawn into your hand at that time. When this card enters your hand, you can trigger the alert. This usually means drawing 1 or more cards. For example, on Strike from the Shadows, you draw a card when you activate the alert. Then, on your turn, you'll play this card, gain the 2 speed automatically, and have a chance to activate. The Activate allows you to discard a card to gain might equal to that card's cost. Note that when cards are discarded to give you additional resources, that might be based off the card's cost, it may be based off that card's printed resources, or it may be something else. Always read the Activate and alerts carefully to make sure that you're doing exactly what the card intends. Almost all these cards, when they're played on your turn, will be put into your discard pile during the cleanup phase. However, that's not true for legacy cards, like Lady Sunbeam's Aurora, a 1-cost solo card with no printed resources that is a power card. This legacy will stay in your play area turn after turn until it's dismissed, either by you or some other effect. That means that as long as this card is in play, it is in effect. This card says, the card Blinding Flash, which we saw earlier, gains +1 printed might. So, as long as this is in play, whenever Lady Sunbeam plays Blinding Flash, as we saw earlier, its printed might goes to 2. It also says that when you use the Gambit effect on the card Blinding Flash, another hero draws 1 card. Again, this is a legacy card that affects Lady Sunbeam's origin cards. Many heroes have legacy or other cards that will boost and enhance their origin cards, making them more powerful later in the game. Another mechanic, one that is unique to solo cards, is Feat. As you can see on realignment, this 2-cost Captain Jupiter solo card that gives you 2 printed Valor and is a power card. This solo card is a feat, and when you train for a feat, you do not take additional training tokens. This allows you to get more solo cards over time because you don't need to pay the exaggerated rate that you do for non-feat solo cards. This card also has an activate. It says, destroy this card to select up to 1 villain card, 2 city cards, and 3 union cards. You cannot choose iconic cards. Move the chosen cards to panels of your choice. This allows for tremendous versatility in rearranging and controlling the board. However, because of its self-destruct clause, it's something that you can only use once per game, so make sure you use it wisely. There are a number of 7-cost union cards. These are some of the most powerful cards in the game, and they tend to represent a specific hero's most iconic abilities. For example, 2-Gun Crimebuster is the Green Death's most powerful team-up card. The 7-cost union card is both gear and skill. It's a legacy, which means it stays in play. It says, when you take no damage from an attack, deal that enemy 2 damage. Like all legacies, that is in effect as long as this card is in your play area. But this card also has an in-play Gambit. Much like an in-hand Gambit, in-play Gambits can be triggered whenever anyone within range is dealt damage and this card is in play. That means all in-play Gambit cards are necessarily legacies. The in-play Gambit self-effect on this is dismiss this card to gain 5 defense. So the 2-Gun Crimebuster both allows you to deal damage when you are defending yourself well, or to give your defense when you don't have it. Other examples of in-play Gambits include Captain Jupiter's Negate Gravity. This 2-cost union card is a power with no printed resources. It is a legacy with an in-play Gambit range 0, meaning she can trigger it whenever anyone on her panel is dealt damage. It says dismiss this card to gain 3 defense. So, when this is in play, and someone on your panel is dealt damage, you can dismiss this, putting it into your discard pile from your play area to gain 3 defense. The last mechanic we're going to talk about today is Rally, as we can see on Prince's Odyssey. Prince's Odyssey is the team-up equivalent of Odysseus' Origin Modern Odyssey. As you can see, his Origin card has the same printed resources, but none of the mechanics in the rule box, making it manifestly less powerful than the more potent team-up alternative. In addition, the team-up card has the quality of skill, whereas the Origin card has no associated quality. Like other alerts, the Princess Odyssey is triggered when it comes into your hand in order to allow you to draw a card, meaning that this takes up no space in your deck. This card also has a Rally, which is the first time we're seeing that mechanic. A Rally is triggered only when you first get that card in your deck. Usually that means when you achieve it from the board. The Rally effect on Prince's Odyssey says you may put this card on top of your deck. So when you achieve Prince's Odyssey, you trigger the Rally, which means instead of your discard pile, this card will go on top of your deck, meaning you'll have it for next turn and be able to trigger its alert right away. This is a good example of the way that many heroes' origin cards or solo cards are upgraded or tweaked in order to become team-up cards, giving them a personality and a playstyle when you team up with them in the Union deck. And with that, we've covered all the mechanics that you can find on Union City Alliance Heroes Unite hero cards. We've discussed the resource column, qualities, achieving and training for solo cards and Union cards, origin cards, and the various mechanics that are found in the rules box. With this knowledge, we hope you can go ahead and play Union City Alliance right now. You can download our Tabletop Simulator mod for free, and please back us on Kickstarter to get this game in your hands in October of 2021. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in Union City, heroes.